Good morning and welcome to the Sabi Sands. It's another beautiful day and really looking forward to this morning's adventure. We've got some great information from the Djuma waterhole camera and two actually different pieces of information. The first piece of information we received was that two male lions crossed the dam wall in a southerly direction at close to 2 o'clock this morning, so quite a while ago, and they could be a long way off. But still good to know, and we'll certainly be looking for them at some stage and establishing where they headed to. But more importantly, and more recently, there was tracks of Kunyuma, or reports of Kunyuma, sleeping on the dam wall and then heading in a southerly direction thereafter. So that was only 15 or 20 minutes ago, and that's a really useful information, and incredible how technology is aiding us and just bringing you this footage as well as helping us to find animals. So our initial plan is to follow up on this leopard, and I'm going to start looking for tracks even from now because we are very close to this waterhole, and he could have popped up here. So I will start searching, and we've got a lucky charm to start the morning off. A lucky feather. I'm not sure what bird this could be from, and actually it's quite interesting. You can see this feather's quite tattered and there's a few pieces missing out of it, so it really would be interesting to know which bird it's from. Potentially an owl, but hard to say. Either way, we'll pop it in to the microphone here, and hopefully that will help steer us towards the leopard. For those of you that have been watching over the last few months, kind of from early on in the production, you would remember Hayden, and Hayden had a lucky porcupine quill that he actually handed on to us, but we haven't actually needed it. We've had so much luck with some incredible game viewing since they've been gone, and the porcupine quill had a foot on its own Facebook page. Thought I'd remind you of that porcupine quill because it certainly does bring back some happy memories from earlier on in the production. So, to fill you in, as far as I'm aware, apparently it was Kunyuma. People managed to identify it. It was lying on the dam wall, which VM's pointing at now, and it is VM on camera this morning, and Alex in final control. So he was probably sleeping somewhere there where VM's zoomed in on, and he apparently came towards where we are now, so I'm hoping to find his tracks on this road just ahead of us and then take it from there. Oh, here his tracks right here. So I've just seen one track, or two tracks, of him heading down the road, and let's see where he goes from here. At this stage he appears to have actually veered down towards the dam. No, he's continuing straight down this road, and they're beautiful fresh leopard tracks. I'm not going to stop to tell you because it is a difficult thing for us to show you, and I'd rather actually try and find you this leopard. Oh, on the left-hand side of the road, these tracks. Left-hand side of the road, these tracks, and very, very fresh, and easy for me to say that they're fresh, but for a fact that wasn't here very long ago, but it's a good. Now, Flea is going to have stayed on this road and not veered off, and that way it would be easier for us to find him because we just have to head down in the same direction as him. However, if he does veer down to the left, there's a very big riverbed. That's going to make it difficult for us to find him and follow him. Either way, his tracks do still continue over to the right side of him. Either way, his tracks do still continue now. He's moved over onto the right-hand side of the road. And this is just going to stop and say good morning, but there is a buffalo over there, and you'll probably find the leopard managed just to sneak past without the buffalo even knowing it was here. there's also tracks of the male lions heading down this road. So two different predators, both of which we would love to see. One of which being really, oh, this is actually incredible. We can see a lion track. Oh no, I beg your pardon. It's a lion track and a hyena track, quite close to one another. But I thought it was the lion and the leopard right next to one another. Just going to make sure this leopard tracks are still here, which I fear they're not. They don't look to still be on this road. Just going to jump out quickly to check closely here, especially because of the fact that it is a road junction. So we could find at any of the road junctions that an animal may follow the roads because they do act like highways. And I just want to double check that it hasn't veered up to the right here. Okay, well there's good news. The leopard continues down the road and the lion continued down the road. And who would have thought that two of the top apex predators that we do find in this area, the lion and the leopard, have walked down this very same road. And the two lion whose tracks are heading down this road could well be the same two lion that we saw the other day that managed to take down a buffalo. Excuse me, not actually far from here. And the same leopard, if it is Djuma, managed to sneak in and steal some meat from that lion kill. Very risky business stealing from lion, especially for any leopard really, but a young male who's still learning how to hunt may be more inclined to be pressured to steal from lion, and a certain individual did actually luck and got away unscathed. Excuse me. Excuse me. Now these lions could well have already passed on. As that we go around, we could find the leopard walking down the road. And he is heading into an area now that's easier for us to follow him if he does head down into the riverbed. His tracks do still keep going down here. He was on the left hand side of the road at this stage. Come on. How are we doing, Max? All good? No problem. Okay, I'll start with Alex, and that'll explain it. Ooh, that's not looking
what's happened now?
The mic is broken. Oh, the earpiece rather. Uh-oh. Okay folks, apologies for this, but it appears that my earpiece has got some issues. Just to fix it, as I said last night at the fireside chat. So if I don't have any luck fixing this little device, hopefully VM will. Okay, cool. So I'm going to be open mic, so just this piece is causing trouble, so just, you know, I'm going to be open. Okay, so... Okay, we've just got it through, as you would have heard, all the way from Brooklyn, and it sounds like it. Lev, good morning Lev from Brooklyn, and welcome on board. Lev is asking where the leopards roar. Good question. They don't actually raw. They've got more of a guttural rasp, would be a good word, I guess, to describe their call. And it sounds like somebody sawing through a piece of wood, and I will do my impression for you. It's not perfect, but it'll give you an idea. So that kind of a rasping call is the typical call of a leopard, and that is how they communicate at longer distances. And in a similar way, a lion would roar. And sadly, we haven't had too much leopard here, or been able to show you that, but it could happen today. It is really a vocalization, a very strange call that, unless you knew it was a leopard, most people wouldn't be able to guess that that was what was making the noise if they were to hear it. Okay. Now, in all the excitements, I have got a little bit carried away and possibly not been focusing on the tracks as much as I should have been. Interestingly, both the male lion and the leopard tracks have both disappeared off this road. We've got a few very relaxed buffalo here. The lion could have passed through many hours ago, in all likelihood did. So it's a nice surprise to see these buffalo in a very relaxed state. But I am interested to see that the lions have turned off this road as well as the leopard. This buffalo has just walked through a golden all-bred spider's nest, or web. We are going to continue because I do want to try and make the most of this opportunity of having fresh leopard tracks. And I'm just trying to decide what the best option is for us here. So the leopard could have done two things. It could have crossed to the east of the road or to the west of the road in all likelihood. Its general movement was in a southerly direction, so I'm guessing it did continue south. But whether it cut off east or west, it's hard to tell. But I'm just going to get out here and double check for any more tracks that may be useful for us. Okay, well, the tracks of the two male lion do continue down this road, so that's good news. The leopard, on the other hand, I've got no idea as to where it could be. Now, I'm hoping it would have dropped down into this riverbed on our left-hand side. It is something that I have said on numerous occasions that it would be wonderful to be able to show you a leopard walking down one of these large riverbeds. It's something that we haven't been able to show you yet, so I personally haven't, and it really would be wonderful to see. So if you did head down there, we can actually drive in the riverbed, so that is something that we may do. But in the meantime, maybe we should just follow these male lion tracks and anything's possible along the way. We could bump into the same leopard we were looking for. We are heading in the general direction that it was moving in, but if not, we'll be able to establish at least where these lions have gone, and if we don't have any luck with them, we can come back into this area, and who knows what leopard it is, and maybe it's come out into an area where we can see it. So we'll start off and move back into this area for the leopard if we don't have it. A lot of buffalo tracks, so it is possible that these lions managed to take down a buffalo. But it should be working here. If I unplug this back little plug that goes into the radio, it should be coming through, eh?
The two wires being in the back of the radio.
Yeah.
So there's more.
You see I've unplugged this one.
Yeah, that should work.
No, I'm getting nothing. Oh well. Not a train smash, but we won't have any this morning. Where are the lion tracks? There've been a herd of on top of it. That makes it difficult. Obviously, see the lion tracks if the elephants are on top of them. Continue down this road, and I have tracked them down this road before, so most times, oh, would you believe it? Who could this one be now? I'm just going to get out quickly for a close inspection. It looks like it could be a female. So a few also fresh leopard tracks from last night, heading in the same, or heading towards where the other leopard was heading, so maybe they've joined up. I'm not sure whether that's a male or a female. It's an in-betweener, that's difficult to say. But it could well be a female, and if it is a female, hopefully it's Karula, the female that we have seen quite a lot of. I just want to establish what she does. Well, we certainly have got lucky this morning in terms of the tracks that we've been able to find. And of predators moving through this area, and we'll come back and follow up on these leopard tracks. I'm almost convinced this leopard's turned down the road and is now heading in the same direction as the lion we're heading. So I'm guessing two different leopard, both hot on the trail of two male lions.
Hey Scott, question from Rick and Susie in Hawaii. They noticed you made a mark on the road which is tough.
Okay, got a quick through as you would heard from Rick and Susie in Hawaii. Good morning and welcome on board. The reason why I make the marks with my foot is because it'll be easier for us to see tracks, and also for other game drive vehicles that drive past. They will be alerted to the tracks by that drag I make with my foot, and therefore it'll be easier for them to see them and be aware of them. So it's just something we do to highlight the tracks that have been found. And what's important to also realize, when we are tracking, it's a lot easier in the early morning like this when the sun's coming through at an angle, because the shadow is cast on the tracks, and therefore it almost lights them up. Whereas in overcast weather, or as the sun becomes higher above us, it becomes harder and harder to see the tracks. So those lines I draw with my feet in the sand make it easier as the sun gets higher up to see tracks. Okay. No more tracks of these two big man lions, but they could have get off the road now and head down to the dam to drink potentially. But what I'll do is I'll loop ahead and go and check this main road, which sadly is our southern boundary, and we will not be able to follow these lion tracks any further. But what we will be able to do is go and have a look for the leopard, two different sets of tracks, both kind of heading in the same direction, so it's increasing our odds dramatically of being able to find them. So looking forward to that, but do need to just establish where exactly these lions have headed, and once we confirm that they cross our more can be done in terms of tracking them. Okay. No sign of them heading that way. Okay, well, sadly, the lion tracks have crossed straight through our property, and we can no longer follow them. Oh, beautiful white-faced whistling ducks. Listen to this call. It's one of my favorite calls. Please do it again. There we go. Great shot, Liam. Well done there. Oh. So, now that we've established that the lion are gone, we can continue following up on these leopard, and my plan is to immediately drop down into this riverbed where at least the set over our winter. So all that we do miss over the winter. And always exciting when summer does come around again, when the first woodlands kingfishers come back, because they really do make a lot of noise. So a lot of good memories of this can be associated with the call of the woodlands kingfisher. These little gullies down into the riverbed. Haven't seen any tracks yet, which may mean, I'm hoping it means that the leopard headed up the river, and that would be perfect because that's heading in the same direction. Last night, and may just get lucky and landed in here, and even lucky too, because these tracks that we are following are heading straight towards another set of leopard tracks we started following initially. And wouldn't it be wonderful to find not one but two, and there's a chance that that will happen. The leopard tracks in the riverbed are now on the left hand side of this vehicle track, the two tracks. Come on. And the trick is now is to make sure we are looking for both tracks and the animal, because if we just look for tracks and we have our head down on the road, we may drive straight past the leopard. I can't see the tracks on the road anymore, and that's why I did immediately. This is quite interesting. Worth pointing out quickly before we get stuck in these holes. There's two big holes in this riverbed, and obviously it's going to be difficult for you to see in the hole, but you can see that something's been excavated there, and you can also potentially see some large footprints. Now that would have been elephants, and they dig down into the riverbed below the water table, and that way can get nice fresh water from out of the riverbed. We're just trying to drive straight over these, hope we don't fall into and then get stuck. And thankfully these vehicles are really good, so that hasn't happened. But I would get purer, more filtered water out of this riverbed than they would from the dams. It looks like the leopard tracks do continue, potentially. Hard to tell.
Question from Ryan in Utah. Do big cats purr like house cats?
So, I'll just relay that question to you in case I didn't hear it, but a question from Ryan in Utah asking whether lions purr like house cats. Not that I'm aware of, but there is a strong chance that they do. So, very good question. I haven't heard them purring, but there is a strong possibility that they do purr. Sadly, unlike house cats, who typically purr when they are lying on your lap, the lions don't spend too much time on our laps, so we don't get to know whether they purr like a house cat would, but there's a chance that that happens. Good news, the leopard's still heading down the riverbed, so will we. Again, these tracks are heading towards where we did kind of last have the tracks of the initial leopard that we were following, so there still is a chance that we're going to bump into two of these beautiful animals. leopard tracks are now on this road, and they appear to continue down the riverbed, but I'm just going to double check. Oh, no. Okay, these tracks do not continue down the riverbed as we hoped they would, but at least we know where they head. But at least we know where they're heading, and interesting. Haven't seen a leopard in this area, so my brain's initial thoughts were that it wouldn't come this way, but that was short-sighted of me. So the last tracks were on the left-hand side. Of this road, but there's obviously a fork here that we've just come across. So I just need to establish which way it went, and it appears it took this left-hand fork because I didn't see any tracks coming out on the right-hand side there. What I will do here is just make sure, yeah, it does continue on the right hand side of the road now, looking like potentially a female. Wouldn't it be wonderful to bump into Karula? Now this road is getting difficult to track on, and you can see why. There's a lot of vegetation and it's also quite hard, but I did just see one track there, so the leopard is still going down here. And the nice thing about the roads is that they do kind of act as highways for a lot of the animals, and once an animal does get onto the road, it can often continue on it for long distances before veering off. Rattling testicular, probably alarm calling at us. The road here is very hard. I didn't manage to see any tracks there. There's a bird's nest in the fork of this tree. The last time we were here, we saw what looked to be like a juvenile African harrier hawk. And we might get lucky and get a visual of it now. Oh wow, look at it. It's out of the nest. Awesome. There it goes. And this is the first time we're seeing it fly, and as you can see, it's not very good. So who knows how many flights it has done in its life. But that could well be one of its first flights, and as you would have noticed, it took a little time to build up steam there, but incredible to see that fledgling take off, because the last time we were here, we saw it in the nest, and before that, we actually had no idea whether the adults were incubating. I think this might be an adult behind us, or is that the youngster again? No, that still looks like the youngster. Anyway, isn't that wonderful to know that this young African harrier hawk has at least made it this far? And for all young animals out here, the odds are stacked against them to make it to adulthood, so it doesn't matter whether you're a predator or a prey animal. When you're young out here, the odds are stacked against you, so, excuse me, always wonderful to see whatever animal it is make it to adulthood. Okay, now, after all that excitement, after all those tracks, we've got nothing to show for it. And now the tricky part begins in terms of what to do. Do we keep looking in this area where we know there could be two leopard? And that would require driving in the same area, the same roads, hoping that the leopard will pop out. Or do we head into a new area, hoping to find another animal or something else interesting or exciting going on? Now, the benefits of heading into a new area are that there could be a leopard lying on the road, there could be a lion on the road, there could be something that's really easy to come and find. Simply by driving down that road, you could bump into it without any skill involved. However, it is a gamble because we know of two leopards in this area, so do we invest time here driving up and down the roads? And even though we are driving up and down the roads, we can bump into anything else at any given stage. So let's see what tracks I find at this road junction and then make a decision thereafter. Nothing too interesting that side. Well, that's actually not true. The reason why I say that it wasn't true that there's nothing interesting, there are a lot of interesting tracks on the roads, but in terms of what we're looking for, there's nothing of major interest. But there were tracks of a civet, which is a nocturnal, almost raccoon-like creature that we get out here. Sadly, because we're not spending too much time out at night, we don't see them very often, but we do often see their tracks on the road. Okay, well, now that the initial got the woodland kingfisher here. Beautiful. 2 days in a row now that we've got lucky to get a really close-up shot of these beautiful birds, and if you stay tuned, if it does fly off at any stage, you'll notice a beautiful turquoise, electric turquoise blue on their back and wings. Although this guy doesn't look like he's going anywhere, he's all fluffed up and looking exceptionally comfortable over there. Excuse me. Whew. I was hoping to get some pictures of it flying off, because its only option is to fly directly towards us, so a good photographic opportunity, but as you can tell, it is really relaxed there, and may fly off when we drive, but no, still relaxed. But there it goes, and it did turn around and show us its beautiful blue-black as we pulled off. Anyway, for the regular viewers, you'll know that we often stop and try and show you the perfect shots, and often the animals just disappear, leaving us with nothing but bushes to look at. And for any of you that may be viewing for the first time, welcome on board, and it is important to know that it is an interactive safari and that you can ask us questions at any given stage. Now, to ask us questions, when I say us, there's Mark, another presenter who's not out at the moment, so he'll be out this afternoon. He's got the morning off to catch up on some sleep. But like I say, for the new first-time viewers, it is an interactive safari, and from wherever you are watching in the world, you can ask us questions. Now, to do that, you would hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, and to send through an email, you'd send it to questions@wildearth.tv. Fresh Ellie dung in the road, and send your questions through to us, and Alex, who's in final control, will do his best to get them through to me. And what an incredible thing technology again allows us to do, is to be able to communicate with people all over the world live from this remote location in Africa. So I really enjoy it. It's certainly okay, well, the good news is there's some more leopard tracks here, would you believe it? These could well be the tracks that the leopard at the Gowrie Dam. He could well have walked here on his way to the dam. And that is what these indicate to me. So it could be the same leopard that's already passed through by the dam, or potentially, either way, more leopard tracks. So there's still. When we do manage to find leopard and then follow them, what's really interesting is trying to keep track of how they move and learn as much as you can about the way they move. But what I can tell you is that their movements are erratic and you cannot tell what they're going to do. This leopard does continue heading to the dam, so in all likelihood the same one that was seen there. And incredible to also note that even though we were only 15 or 20 minutes behind that leopard, the reports of that leopard leaving the Djuma waterhole, we still couldn't find it. So maybe that's my fault, but it goes to show that even with such a short follow time, they can disappear. I'll give the Game Drive channel another test. What on earth is not working? Bizarre that it's not working. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Morning mobile stations. Any updates, please? Well, that's as good as the radio not working, because there's no updates on the radio. But what is interesting is that these leopard tracks appeared to head straight towards this tree, and I'm wondering if the leopard didn't go and lie up in this tree for a moment. I'm just going to double check. Not sure exactly what happened there, what was said. Sorry, go again. Confirm sandy patch. Copy, thank you, sir. Could I come and join you there, please? Well, that's good news. A leopard's been found, and it wasn't by us, sadly, but that's not a problem. We've tried our best this morning, and now I am hoping we'll get to see a leopard. It's still quite a way off from where we are, and anything could happen between now and when we get there, but I will increase the speed a little bit, as you would have already noticed, and get us there as quickly as possible. It was hard for me to tell if that leopard did manage to head up the tree, and as soon as I heard the radio, I gave up on trying to establish whether that did happen or not. Well, the leopards certainly have been on the move on Djuma last night, and glad that the one game drive vehicle did manage to find one of them. I'm guessing it could be Mvula, judging by the territory that, or the area that it's in, that this leopard's been called in. It's in the northwestern part of our property, and that's where Mvula does spend a lot of his time, and he's a beautiful big male leopard, and one that I haven't seen too much of, so it'd be really wonderful to see a little bit more of him. Station with the Madonna in
Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back in the vehicle with us.
We are still on the way to the leopard, I hope. Haven't heard anything more from the game drive station, but we are heading there quickly, so it shouldn't take us long to get into the area called Sandy Patch. Interestingly enough, we saw the male line tracks heading down the same road that we took to get onto this main northern boundary of ours. So again, just useful information that we can use in the future And we can use it in ways that, for example, if we do have lion tracks heading in this general direction, we may be able to assume that they will take a path that they have used in the past. It doesn't always work, but it does aid us. Again, apologies for that break in tradition, but you didn't miss out on anything other than me speeding over some bumps and nearly losing VM in the process. So I had to slow down and gather myself. I'm getting a little bit too excited. Big track. It really is so wonderful being. We're also enjoying the excitement of tracking, even though it hasn't come up with anything for us this morning. It's still provided us excitement, and thankfully somebody else's tracking was successful, and we should be joining them shortly and enjoying their successful morning with them. Sorry? Okay. Staying on Sandy Patch. Okay, confirm I should be on pilot, please. Confirm he's heading west from Vortella access. Copy that. What I gathered from that update was that I haven't got the best into the lighting, firstly. So we've come to Sandy Patch, but Sandy Patch is a road, and so I didn't get very accurate information as to where exactly on Sandy Patch this leopard was. And I came to the wrong end of it, so we've got a few more minutes till get there. But the good news is this leopard is on the move and hasn't been lost. They've still got a sight of it, and it shouldn't be long till we are with it. Now, thinking about into Djuma every morning, so from where we turned on there is our first section of Djuma. So we would have driven straight past where this leopard has crossed, but obviously just at the wrong time of day to find it. So we did drive down this road at about 5:30 this morning, an hour and a half ago. And for those of you who have been following for the majority of our drives, you'll notice that I typically don't like driving very fast and try and avoid it at all costs. But this is a special exception, and we do really want to get to this as quickly as we can because it is on the move. And before it heats up and in all likelihood lies down, it would be great to be able to show you it on patrol, potentially coming across something to hunt. So that is why I'm rushing. And thankfully, because none of you are actually sitting on the back of the vehicle, you aren't getting thrown around as a regular guest would. It's just VM that has to deal with all the bumps. So apologies, VM, but he knows it's part of the deal. Okay, so Sandy Patch Road finished just behind us there on the left-hand side, and this leopard would have crossed over onto Impala Plains Road, which is this road here that we're going to take. I'm not sure how far they are down Impala Plains Road at the moment, but it shouldn't be too far. Station with the Madora Ingwe Impala Plains confirm I just keep coming down the road. I have to turn off the vehicle so that it doesn't affect the transmission, so quite bizarre that, but that's why I do keep turning the vehicle off. Oh, there are the vehicle tracks going off there, so I'm just going to follow the vehicle tracks because the radio doesn't seem to be helping us. Oh, where do the vehicle tracks go? Okay, the signal might cut out, but I do have to keep the vehicle running, folks, so apologies if we do lose signal, but it is important for me to find this animal. The station with the Madora Ingwe Impala Plains, come in. Oh my lord.
Left Madora Ingwe, stop, Impala Road.
Confirm you've left that animal.
Going south, Impala Road.
Okay, copy. Things are still looking positive to see the leopard. But at least now you've got an idea because you can hear exactly what's going on the radio, what I have to deal with on a daily basis, and as you can tell, I'm not getting the most accurate updates or even responses from this game viewer.
Got a question from Virginia. She's read that leopards are mainly nocturnal. How is it we are seeing them moving during the day on safari line?
I'm not sure the name of that person, even though it was just mentioned. I was just concentrating on driving, but the question was, somebody's read up and believed that leopards are nocturnal from what they've read, and yes, predominantly cats will move more at night, especially lion and leopard, with the cover of darkness, but it's not a strict rule, and leopards will often move during the day and hunt during the day, so don't believe everything you read in textbooks, because especially with wildlife, it's often not the case. Oh, I could smell a scent mark there, so it's a male that's been scent marking. It smells like buttered popcorn, and that's a beautiful smell to smell. Did you guys smell that? Yeah?
No, I don't get that.
Did you not get it? So I'm guessing the leopard must have veered off the road temporarily, because I did see some fresh vehicle tracks heading off there. The leopard must be moving quite quickly, but it already got this far. So on a serious mission. Oof, I didn't expect to be racing around for this long. So apologies for the Ferrari Safari, as it is sometimes called, and like I said, I tried to avoid it, but sometimes you do just need to hurry to ensure we do get some great views. lost for words now, because I don't know what this game view has done, if he did veer off the road and not tell us. Station with the Madora Ingwe and Palo Plains. The station with the Madora Ingwe and Palo Plains. Well, as you've probably gathered, I'm somewhat frustrated. And now I'm not sure what we should do. Station in Palo Plains. Well, good to see that there are some impala here at Impala Plains. Just two big males. And I just don't know what to say to you after racing around for this long and not coming up with anything. I do apologize. Station with the Madora Ingwe. Station with the Madora Ingwe, come in. There's a young hornbill preening itself here. It looks like a youngster, just judging by the fact that it's got a small bill. It will get considerably larger as it grows up. And we've seen a lot of young hornbills emerging from their nests. Well, we haven't actually seen them emerging, but we've noticed that a lot have emerged over the last week or two. Oh. Station with the Madora Ingwe, come in. I don't understand. We saw the leopard tracks heading down this road. The game viewer said he's heading south down this road, which is exactly what we've done. And now we've got nothing. And nothing to go on because no communications with that game viewer, so who knows what the problem is. Potentially the leopard did head west onto this main boundary road, and I'm going to go and have a look on now, and maybe that guy is following it off road and has turned his radio off. I don't know. No, no sign of him here. Station with a Madora Ingwe. Almost as if somebody's playing some kind of a sick joke on us. Hey, come here, we've got a leopard, and then you rush over and then they disappear. Oh my lord. Well, if anybody's got any suggestions as to what they think I should do, please send them forward, because I am at a loss of what to do now. Well, we can slow things down a bit, seeing as though we are no longer in a rush, and I can't apologize enough for building up all that excitement. As you saw, I was seriously excited because I really wanted to see this leopard, and especially the fact that somebody said, here's the leopard, I've got one, and then saw the track setting down the road, smelt the scent mark that smells like buttered popcorn. But now I can't share anything from whoever that person was that told us they had a leopard, so apologies, but as you probably noticed, I'm highly frustrated with the whole situation. So it's not just you, it's also me. Let's see if I can change this radio channel. Station with the Madonna.
A lot of viewers are saying thank you for that, for trying, and they really appreciate the effort.
Is there a station with the Madonna anywhere around Impala Plains on this channel? So not copying you, if you can try the Eastern channel, that would be great. Okay, well, the game plan now is to do what? I'm not too sure. Possibly to head back into that area where we last did have some other leopard tracks. And try and find a leopard for ourselves. You might be asking myself, well, surely we should keep looking for that leopard over there. Yes, to a degree, that could well be the right thing to do, but at the end of the day, if we can't find the leopard even with the help of another game viewer, then we might as well just move into a new area. I think, because we are close to a boundary there. That's another reason why I was rushing, because if the leopard did continue in a westerly direction, we wouldn't be able to follow it. So that's why I did try and go onto another channel to see if that wouldn't help, if the guy did potentially cross from one property over onto another. He would have changed radio frequencies, and that's why I did try and go on to another radio frequency, hoping that they may be able to tell us what's going on. But again, the beauty of this morning is that you are getting an idea of exactly what I'm hearing on the radio, and it's a pity the Game Drive channel is so quiet, because it's often very noisy, and I've got that to contend with in my ear the whole time, and you obviously don't know when that Game Drive channel is making a noise. But also just the quality of the audio coming through, or lack of audio altogether coming through. So at least you're getting that little picture. Basically the radio doesn't work too well. There's the long and the short of it.
There's a question from Alicia in Windsor, Canada. Do the big cats get affected by catnip, like the house cats do?
It's a good question that's just come through from Alicia, and I'll just relay it in case you didn't hear it coming through on the base station. And she's asking whether big cats are affected by catnip, and it's something that I've never tried, but I believe it does work. I've heard it does work for leopards, and just like a regular house cat, they get extremely excited by catnip. So it's something that I've always said I'd like to try, but I've never got around to doing, and it would be something that I guess would be frowned upon. You don't want to be, it's not something you want to do all the time, Archer, interfere with the wild animals and their daily ongoings, but I think a once-off experiment would be acceptable. But no, I haven't tried it, but have heard from friends that it does work, friends that have tried it. Sadly, I haven't seen any footage of it, or all I've heard is a few stories from friends, so that's all I can give you on that matter. But it's a good question, and maybe the next time I come out to the bush, I'll come along with a bag of catnip. Well, this morning has been an emotional roller coaster. The excitement of following lion tracks, 2 different sets of leopard tracks, then being called into a leopard sighting, and all we've got to show for it at this stage is not a hell of a lot. So we've been going an hour and a half, and I don't think in that hour and a half we've stopped very much for animals, so apologies for that. But it has been exciting this morning, but at the same time it's also been quite frustrating, so apologies for that. And thankfully it's not over, and not even halfway through, just coming on halfway now, so there's still time to hopefully get some good sightings in. But sadly, as it does get hotter, our likelihood of seeing good things decreases. Yeah. Let me turn the car around a little bit. As well as a beautiful woodlands kingfisher. You got the lizard there?
Skink.
Yeah, well, thank you, sir, for correcting me, or explaining exactly what it is. It is called a striped skink, and this is a fully grown adult, and enjoying the morning sunshine, warming up, getting ready for a day out hunting little insects. And it appears that also the woodlands kingfisher is enjoying the morning sunshine. It's nice just to have the car stopped and enjoy these beautiful sights that we've been racing past all morning. So glad to have the vehicle stopped, and 2 very different animals. It'd be interesting, this woodlands kingfisher could well attack this lizard. It's certainly within the prey size, and wouldn't it just be absolutely incredible if the woodlands kingfisher swooped down and caught this skink? It's not unlikely, and for those of you that have been following closely, you may remember a drive a few weeks ago where we were waiting at a woodlands kingfisher's nest, and we actually saw an adult arrive with a baby snake that it proceeded to thrash against a log to kill it and then feed to one of its youngsters. So this certainly is within the weight category required for a woodlands kingfisher, and I hope the lizard knows that it is in actually high danger there. I'm wondering from the angle where the woodlands kingfisher is sitting if it can see the skink. It potentially could. Well, there it goes, and not sure if it could see that skink, but wouldn't that have been something else if we saw it swoop down and catch the lizard?
A question from Dave in Toronto. Other than trucks, what other signs do you look for when tracking animals?
Okay, so you probably heard that question from Dave. Morning Dave, welcome on board. And Dave is asking what else we look for when we're looking for animals other than tracks, and there's not much else we can look for other than the tracks. I guess the animal itself would be something we're looking for. But other things we could use to aid us in finding animals is listening, stopping and listening to alarm calls from various animals. A lot of the animals out here will alarm call, even from the smallest little birds. Squirrels, monkeys, the antelope, all of the typically prey items will alarm call at predators if they see them. So audio is a big thing to go on when following up on animals, but other than tracks, there's nothing else you can really look for to help you that I can think of. It's the tracks or the animal that will lead you to it.
How your tick bite is since you used the marula tree sap on it. Did it work?
So I'm sure you all heard that question, so I won't relay it. And yes, the marula sap did work, but only temporarily, kind of for a few hours after I put it on, and it did work very well. But I do need to get some more of that because the itch did continue after a few hours, so it obviously needs to be applied fairly readily, but did work very well. So that is one of the natural remedies that does work out here. A lot of them are not that effective. To give you an extreme example, it's believed that certain plants may even cure AIDS, but we're very well aware that there's no cure for AIDS or HIV at this stage. So that gives you an example that there are misbeliefs in local medicines, and as good as some of them can be, a lot of them can be kind of equally detrimental to the local people because they believe they are getting something that's helping them, or that there could be potentially a cure for something where in fact there actually isn't. So pros and cons to the local medicine, but the marula as an antihistamine is a winner. For that signal makeup, and what I've decided to do is start this morning's drive again from scratch and erase all of the bad luck that we've had so far, but focus on the information that we have gathered thus far this morning. And the information that I'm going to focus on using is that of the leopard that moved the reports of the leopard that moved from Djuma Dam, which is just down to our left, and we follow those tracks for about half a mile, close to another direction. We're just going to pop back into that and hopefully the driven past us popped out and is now in a visible spot. But hoping there's going to be nothing around, especially the efforts of race made to me this morning. And thank you for all the kind messages that have come to express our gratitude for our efforts this morning. Really appreciate that, and it makes me a little better. Calm down and I'm hopeful that stuff or 40. It's really thankfully though at this stage it looks like we're going to have dry a lot change. Because when it does rain, it's basically possible. There's a lot. I take it on the vehicle, no mess.
Scott, have a question from Indiana on Twitter. Are the kingfishers year-round residents on Djuma?
So you would have heard that question from Alex. And good morning, welcome aboard. The kingfisher in this area, some are migratory and some of them also. So depending on the species, it depends. So the woodlands kingfisher migrates to central North Africa. The grey fisher, which is another kingfisher that we've seen a very small amounts of, but we have seen them quite. I think Mark's managed to show you one the other day. Is also migratory, so also only comes for our summer, but it's an intra-African migrant. So all of the kingfishers we do get don't come from further afield than Africa. A lot of the water-based or water-dependent kingfishers, malachite, pied kingfisher, giant kingfisher, they'll be here year-round. But the woodlands, grey-headed are two that will not be here year-round. The brown-hooded we'll have permanently here. So it depends on, like I say, the species. But good question. That's risky business there, Liam. What do you think? Just want to see how deep this hole is. It's another hole that's been excavated by elephants, and interesting that they are excavating these holes at this time of the year because there is a lot of water around that they could easily drink from a dam. And the reason why they do like digging these holes is, as I said earlier, they get fresh, almost filtered water. And elephants are fussy. They will target fresh, clean water if they can, and it can often cause a problem for camps because obviously camps need fresh running water, and the elephants often tap into these pipes and break the piping leading into camps, causing water problems. And there we can see that there's water, so really interesting that just below here the water table is carrying water. And I'm going to chance it and try and drive over the center of this hole and hope the bank doesn't collapse in on itself. There we go. Well, that's the end of that little adventure. And still no leopard. Now, some of you may be thinking back to how often I've said we've been lucky over the last few weeks, and this morning's a good example of how lucky we've been in terms of the sightings that we've had and the luck we've had in tracking animals and actually managing to find them, because it can often be that you do have exceptionally quiet mornings. Not that there's not lots going on out here, it's simply that we're in the wrong place to be looking for them. So now you'll realize why I did emphasize how lucky we have been, because of the know-how that we can have these quiet spells and patches where luck is not on our side. come out wherever you are. It's already getting much harder to see the tracks now that the sun is getting higher up overhead, and as I did mention earlier, but I'll recap for those of you who may have joined more recently on this morning's drive. When you're tracking, it's easiest to follow tracks in the early morning and late afternoon when the sun is coming in at an angle. That way, casting a small shadow on the sides of the track, making it more visible. Whereas when the sun becomes higher up overhead, shining directly down into the tracks, it's harder to see any shape or form. So either that, or when it's overcast and you've got no sun at all, that also makes it difficult. So we've missed the easy couple of hours of tracking, and now it will get harder and harder to follow any tracks or any tracks. Just something worth bearing in mind. It doesn't make our odds low in terms of bumping into anything. It just means we will have a smaller chance of getting any information from the roads that do provide us with a lot of useful intel as to where leopards and lion are moving, which are the main animals we will spend time tracking. Also wild dog and cheetah if they are ever on the property, which occasionally get cute with a wild dog. Hasn't been for a while though, but have yet to show you a cheetah. And wouldn't that be wonderful if we managed to show you guys a cheetah before this production finishes? Really are beautiful birds, these village weavers. And it's been wonderful watching this colony develop over the last few months. Oh, VM, you see the woodlands kingfisher there? It's going to fly down and get wet again quickly for another bath. So I'm guessing this is the first time it did fly in to wet itself when I heard it plop into the water now, and they typically do it about 4 or 5 times. So I'm hoping this will give them an opportunity to follow it as it bombs down into the water. But it could well have had a few baths before we got here, and therefore will no longer require to go in. But they usually, like I said, dunk themselves about 4 or 5 times for an average bathing or bathing session that we've noticed. Come on, plop in one more time for us. I'm concerned, due to the amount of time it has spent preening now, I fear that it will not plop back into the water. We'll give it a moment just to make sure. Oh, now what's interesting, the bird that's just landed in the nest to the left of, or the furthest left nest, is a spectacled weaver. And you probably won't be able to see its spectacles from here, but they do kind of have a Zorro mask over their eyes, and you can notice a very differently shaped nest to the village weavers that we've been seeing here. So that long nest is indicative of a spectacled weaver, so they've joined in the weaver festivities here, but a slightly different weaver. Okay, well, it doesn't look like that woodlands kingfisher is going to be doing anything. Or any further plunges into the water for us, which would have been great to see. I think we got you at the end of its bath. It's an orange-breasted bushshrike or sulphur-breasted bushshrike. They're beautiful birds, but very secretive. And sadly, we've got the ground scraper thrush again, in a very similar area to where we saw it yesterday. I wonder if it's going to allow us another good look at it. They are such pretty birds. Oh, sorry, Vim, I haven't stopped in the best position here, but we're going to make do with this spot, even though its beak's a little bit out of the shot. But you can see that beautiful spotted breast of the ground scraper thrush. It's a bird we haven't seen very much of, but this family, there appear to be 4 of them. I think 2 adults or 2 chicks have started showing themselves in the last few days, so really been enjoying being able to show you a new bird that we haven't spent too much time with. quiet and barren. Oh yeah. Now, had it have just been quiet from the get-go and no tracks and excitement, being called to leopard and then nothing being there, if it's just quiet, it's fine, because you haven't built yourself up to any major excitement. But this morning there's been so much excitement building up and potential for good sightings, I feel drained after establishing that luck is certainly not on our side this morning. But there are some buffalo enjoying a mud wallow here. Some of the animals are enjoying themselves out here, not the two-legged vertical ones. I speak on behalf of myself this morning. And they really are crammed into this. Oh, sorry guys. Apologies for disturbing your morning mud wallow. I'm going to leave them to it because I don't want them to leave on our accord. And I'm sure if we leave, they'll then settle down and continue with their mud wallow. I think they do sometimes get nervous and associate vehicles with predators, especially the buffalo. Which is strange, because the majority of the time that we view buffaloes, there's no predators around. It's just very occasionally that the lion are hunting them and we aren't on their tails. But that, like I say, is a rarity and we don't get to see very often. So it's interesting how buffaloes sometimes act cautiously of the vehicles. Not sure exactly what could cause it. Tree squirrel alarm calling on our left. Hopefully we'll be able to get a glimpse of it. No, it's too far off, sadly. I will continue driving slowly just to make sure the squirrel wasn't alarm calling at anything that may be of interest to us. morning like this goes to show how important teamwork is out here in finding animals. There are no other vehicles out, or other than the one ghost vehicle that called us to the non-existent leopard and then disappeared himself off the radio. So in such big areas with so many different hiding places for animals to be, when you are stuck alone out here, obviously you can get lucky, but your chances of finding things alone out here are slim, as you are all witnessing this morning. In the same breath, if you do get lucky and find something, then you have the beauty of having it to yourself with no concern of having to potentially leave to make space for other people to come and have a look, because you do share sightings, and that's obviously how the teamwork comes into play. As other vehicles may find things on the radio that's hopefully working, you can therefore get called into sightings, get an idea of where animals are. But this morning there'll be no sharing required. Sadly, we don't have much to share with anyone, even if they were here.
Scott, question from Rick and Susie in Hawaii. Are there any birds similar to the mockingbird in the USA, in South Africa?
Rick and Susie, don't have a clue. I don't know too much about the mockingbird, sadly. I haven't spent too much time in the States, and when I have been there, I don't think I've seen one, so I don't have a clue about that. Alex, maybe you'll be able to Google mockingbird there, get a look at it, and let me know if there are any similar birds out there, but I don't even know what a mockingbird looks like or what color it is. But I'm guessing there could be a similar species, Rick and Susie. There's a lot of bird species that are similar throughout the world. Herons are one that come to mind, for example. Kingfishers are another that occur elsewhere out of Africa. So you do get a lot of similar species on different continents, and there might be a similar bird to the mockingbird out here, but not that I'm aware of. Jim, do you want to take over driving for a while? I don't know what to do. Well, you could go and take a nap. Excuse me. We could go and take a nap under a tree. That might help us. Maybe the animals will come to us.
Big perch, maybe boxes there.
Okay. That's a good plan. We'll do Impala planes again and see if we can establish.
I just had a message from Rick in Hawaii. So he meant to ask if there are any birds that mimic other bird calls. That is what he meant by his question.
Oh, perfect. Well, in that case, Rick, the answer is yes. There's lots of different birds that will mimic other bird calls. The fork-tailed drongo is one that we see a lot of. And they can mimic lots of different calls. And have even been... What was that? It's a lizard. Can you see? This is going to be close to impossible, but if you just zoom in onto that bare patch in the base of those roots. Are you fully zoomed in?
No.
Hey?
No.
Fully zoom in and then go lower down to the right a bit more, up a bit. I think I need to move forward slightly for you too. Try keep zoomed in there and a little bit down. Nothing seems to be working out this morning. There was a giant plated lizard hidden in amongst those leaves. But I guess it was a bit ambitious for me to hope that we were going to be able to get a glimpse of it. Worth trying though. But like I said, everything this morning turns out to be not working in our favor. And that's how it goes. I guess the one positive to look forward to is that I'm hoping this afternoon's drive can only be better than this morning's one. This is probably the lowest point I've got to in the last few months in terms of the drive and frustrations, but that's how it goes. There's highs and lows out here, and this morning is a low point. So if you are joining for the first time, it's important for you to understand that.
There's a question from Charlene on Twitter. Have you seen any aardvarks since seeing those tracks a while ago?
Morning, Charlene. Welcome on board. Charlene, you would have heard asked if we've seen any aardvark. Now, an aardvark, for those of you who don't know, is a nocturnal animal. It's got a pig-like appearance and a long snout, short legs, and they eat termites. And sadly, because they are nocturnal and fairly rare on top of the fact that they are nocturnal, we don't see very many of them, and we have been exceptionally lucky in that we have seen one in the last few months when we were heading from the Sabi Sands back into the Manyuleti where we stay. And so after our evening drive we were heading back and got a brief glimpse of one just off the side of the road, but they typically don't hang around, and it bundled off into the undergrowth or thickets. But we did manage to see one, which was cool. But since then, no more, and no pangolin sightings either yet. So pangolin's another very rare nocturnal animal that there's a chance of seeing out here. But I've only ever seen one in my life, and that was in the Sabi Sands about 3 years ago. During the day, funnily enough, so they are predominantly nocturnal, but like most wild animals, they do make up their own rules, and nothing is fixed or completely guaranteed out here. So even though, like I said, the aardvark is nocturnal, there's a chance of seeing them during the day, but unlikely. don't know if it was a good idea coming back into this area because my blood's beginning to boil again. This is where we came to look for the leopard that was apparently here, and it was. I mean, we saw its tracks walking down the road, you could smell its scent mark. Somebody told us that they were there with it, and that's all we know. Where it's gone, where that vehicle went, nobody knows. There's two Impala still here from earlier. See in shot, and it's just done its call. It's a very comical call when they do it, so I'm hoping it's going to do it again for us. Kind of sounds like a champagne cork popping. And it did let off one call as we drove past, but to capture it calling, as you can see, it disappeared behind the bush, so that's no good for us. Let's try from a little bit further away, we might get lucky. Hopefully it stays in shot, and then it'll coil its neck up as it does the initial call. Oh, I think it's about to go for it. We keep watching closely, and in between it's feeding. I'm hoping it'll let off one more call for us. Here it goes. No. False alarm. Oh, here it goes. I hope you heard that popping sound from this distance. Comical little call.
In Philadelphia. Has rabies ever been an issue in South Africa?
A good question, and I'm sure you'll copy that over the radio. It came through nice and clearly. Thanks, Alex. Good morning and welcome on board. Yes, rabies has been and will continue to be a big problem in South Africa, and it is a problem that even spills into this reserve. There's a lot of communities that surround this reserve, and their dogs, or a lot of the dogs are not looked after very well, so they don't have any veterinary vaccinations, and a lot of them are stray and run kind of fairly wild and aren't kept in gardens, so to speak. So if there is a rabies outbreak, it spreads through the whole village or community. And then we often find that dogs then are more likely to come into the reserve when they do have rabies, relative to when they don't. They don't have any interest in coming here, but when they're rabid, they for some reason want to come in here, and then naturally any animals that come across them, lion, leopard, hyena, wild dogs, will fight with them, as they all do with one another, and often come out on top. But in fighting with them, they can pick up rabies themselves, and then for wild dog it can exterminate a whole pack if just one animal gets rabies, because they're such highly social animals that if one animal does get it, it'll spread through the whole pack and wipe out the pack. With the lion, it will result in them eventually dying often, well, as rabies does result in death eventually, but can obviously cause dangerous situations with us if lions are rabid. So in one case, one lion had to be put down that did get rabies from a fight with a domestic dog. It killed the domestic dog, obviously, very easily, but did contract rabies and did have to be euthanized. And that was here in the Sabi Sands. I personally had to shoot a dog out once out on game drive that I came across that was rabid. That wasn't much fun, having to shoot man's best friend. But when they're rabid and when they are in a place like this, where they can have such negative impacts on endangered species like wild dogs, that's what we had to do. So that was a really bad outbreak, and it was the only time that it got to a point where all of the guides were told any dogs that are seen within the reserve, they must be shot on sight. Thankfully it only happened to me once, because it wasn't a pretty occurrence, although what I did remind myself is that we were essentially putting it out of its misery, because it was inevitably going to die, and it's a slow and agonizing death, rabies. So it did put it out of its misery and did prevent the further spread of any rabies going down. Well, only 15 more minutes and hopefully there'll be a change in fortune in the next 15 minutes, but if the rest of the drive is anything to go by, I'm not expecting anything too exciting to happen in that time. And looking forward to this afternoon's adventure to try and redeem ourselves for this morning's drive, which has not been one of the better ones. But I guess that's what live TV or any kind of live entertainment is all about. There's no sugarcoating or editing or deciding what's good to view and what's not good to view. It is what it is, and sadly this morning's been highly frustrating and not the most enjoyable, at least from my side, but that's how it goes. And thankfully it's most often than not quite like this.
Production from BC on Twitter. What sort of animals do you see when you drive through the park at night?
good question, Kate. But I'll start with aardvark and pangolin because we did speak about them briefly. So those are two of the nocturnal species. Scrub hares, porcupines, bush babies, different birds, night owls that come out. Sometimes scorpions on the road at night. Scorpions are more likely to be active at night than during the day. What else, Vim? What else have we seen at night? Genets, civets. Lions, leopards, of course, they're more likely to be active at night. The Zorillo or striped polecat is another one that you might see at night. Honey badger, more likely to see at night. Although they are diurnal, you could see them during the day.
Tokolosh?
The tokolosh. I was waiting for that, Alex, thank you. Now, it's just been a joke amongst us in the Wild Earth crew. One night we saw a scrub hare run across the road and we weren't sure what it was. So we just joked that it was a tokolosh. Now, the tokolosh is a animal in the Zulu folklore that is highly feared. I'm not exactly sure what it looks like because it doesn't exist. That's pretty much a fact. But amongst the Zulu people, which is a tribe in South Africa, it's believed that there is this small little creature called a tokolosh, and that's the only way I can describe it because not much is known about them because they don't exist. But it's believed that if you raise your bed up off the ground, the tokolosh will not be able to get to you and will not be able to do whatever tokolosh do to you. It's obviously not pleasant because people are trying to avoid it. And this tokolosh, like I say, must be quite small because by raising your bed and just by a few inches, 6 inches or 12 inches, and the local people do that by putting the legs of the bedposts onto a few bricks. Well done, Vian. Onto bricks, and therefore raising the bed a foot off the ground, and thus protecting you from the tokolosh. So it's an animal of the African folklore that's, oh, well spotted, Vian. That I'm certain doesn't exist, but there's still a lot of local people that put their bed on bricks to make sure the tokolosh can't get to them. So there have been a few speculated sightings of the mysterious tokolosh on our way back. There's also been the honey civet. Now the honey civet is a combination between a honey badger and a civet. And one night when I think it was Jason, Alex and Mark were on their way home, Mark's convinced it was a civet and Jason and Alex are convinced it was a honey badger, and therefore the honey civet came about. Mutual consensus. Oh, beautiful. Four beautiful kudu bulls. And they seem to be taking some time off in the shade, just relaxing. And I'm looking forward to joining them shortly. Not here, elsewhere, but the same plans are in mind. Yes, there has been a change of fortune, and it couldn't have come at a better time or with a better animal. So, the carmine bee eater that we've been speaking about for the last few days is here. Yeah? You see in this tree over here to the right. Keep an eye on it, we'll loop around the other side. And I'm guessing it could well fly off before we get there if in search of more prey. But stand by for a beautiful, beautiful bird that we've yet to show you this season. And things are looking good. It's still sitting there. And it really is incredibly beautiful. Got it there, Viam?
Yeah.
An incredibly beautiful bird, as I've said, and as you can see now, the carmine beads. And as it repositions it, we'll notice different colors amongst it. Viam, here's another one that you can try and get before it disappears if you're interested. There's a bateleur soaring over. It's a female. Well done, that's beautiful. And I can tell that it's a female because its wings are predominantly... Oh, look at that. Oh, beautiful. And it is common for the bateleur to teeter like that from side to side. It's got a very short tail. And without a long tail, or with a short tail, it's more difficult for it to balance itself if it does hit any turbulence. Back to the bee eater though, and I'm so glad we have got to see this bird because we've been speaking about it for a long time and even came here looking for it yesterday on the start of drive, and there was no sign of them. But there is a pair that appeared to have made the quarantine clearings their home over the last few days, and these are them. Well, this is one of them. You can see its beak's open, and that is because it's very hot, or starting to get very hot, and that is how the birds will keep cool. They don't sweat like we can, therefore they need to pant and open their beak in order to keep cool. Oh, now something that is difficult for us to do is show you the beauty of birds, and a lot of them are most beautiful when they are flying off. And that you're just going to have to come out to Africa and experience firsthand. There's only so much we can show you from these vehicles, and urge you to come and join us out here if you ever get half a chance, because it really is a magical place to be. And we've just got a few minutes left, so we'll probably stay here. Maybe the carmine bee eater will come back and present another opportunity for us to see it, but if not, we can just enjoy this beautiful view. Well, one's disappeared, but there is still another one. Viam's still staying on it. Well, I'm glad we got to see it running off there. And that's the thing with some sightings, a short sighting but quality sighting is often better than a long, less quality or boring sighting, and that beautiful sight of it running through this open clearing was a good one. But I think we're going to leave them because all they're doing is running from bush to bush trying to get away from us. This is where they usually perch, on this dead branch, so I'm hoping it's not going to fly off. There it doesn't go. Oh, wow, they are beautiful. Well done, Viam. So there's an example of how they perch themselves often on dead branches and then wait to see an insect and then fly off and hawk it. So let's keep watching. It did one earlier where, as we were coming into position, I'm not sure if you saw it, where it flew off just a few centimeters and then landed back on the perch, and it would be wonderful if it did that again, because VM would certainly be able to keep track of it. But it won't be long before it takes off and finds another insect that it wants to gobble up. So let's give it a moment or two. It's a pity it's not facing us, because the prettier colors are on its breast. There are just so many insects flying around. It's well done, VM. Beautiful. So we're challenging VM here in the last few minutes, and there's not much longer to go before we're done with this morning's drive, and so happy that we're finishing on a high note with this carmine bead. So it's a beautiful, beautiful bird, and it is making me feel a whole lot better about this morning's drive, because at stages I was wishing I wasn't here, which is not how it should be. But like I said, it was one of the trickier drives for me and more frustrating drives, and that is the reality out here. And the reality with life, I guess. There's ups and downs. It doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing to catch its insects. Yeah, that long tail streamer, also a wonderful thing on the carmine bead, so that the other bead is we get you don't have that long tail streamer. How's the time check there, Alex?
1 minute to go.
Copy, thanks. So just a minute left, and hopefully this beat is going to do one little aerial display for us before we go. If not, thanks for joining in, and I apologize for this morning's drive. It wasn't the best, but it is how it goes. It is what it is, and I'm hoping this afternoon things will pick up and increase. There certainly are good prospects with the leopard tracks that have been seen this morning. So with a little bit of luck, things will increase in terms of content and action. But until then, I hope you have a wonderful
10 seconds.
Wonderful day or morning, depending on where it is you are in the world. And from myself and VM and Alex, we look forward to this afternoon's drive, and thanks for joining us this morning.